Welcome to the Sleeper Wire Show. Today is October 2nd, 2018, and we're finished with Week 4. So that's either a third of the way or the quarter of the way through the fantasy season, depending on how you look at it, if you include playoffs in your outlook for the fantasy season. And I just want to say, if you're not at 500 or above at this point, it's time to consider who you can count on and who you have to move on from. So today we are going to look at the games, give you the best waiver wire targets, and we're going to discuss who to trade for and who to trade away. On the show with me today, Jason and George, as always on Monday. We welcome back, oh wow, a voice from the past, a blast from the past. Max is on the show today. We got lots to talk about. Let's jump right in. Jason, George, always nice to have you guys back on a Monday. Max, welcome back to the Sleeper Wire Show. Do you remember how this works?
You know, I think I might have an idea. We'll find out.
All right, well, guys, we've been talking pre-show about the Le'Veon Bell stuff. So, George, catch me up on the latest news right now.
Looks like he's going to be reporting Week 7, which is their bye week. I'm not sure how much I expect from him Week 8, but it looks like if you spent a first-round draft pick on Le'Veon Bell and you held him, or if you managed to trade for him at a relatively discounted price, it looks like you're going to get a payoff a little sooner than most people thought.
All right, and I just got a soundbite from James Conner's Value.
No, but it's definitely accurate. I mean, I guess the sell high on James Conner window is officially closed, because if you've been holding him and you're not the Le'Veon Bell owner, you're probably not going to get a whole lot for him at this point.
I'll say this though: James Harrison came out on Sports Talk Radio a week or two ago and had the suggestion that Lev should come back, practice throughout the week, let the cameras see him on the field, and then come Saturday have an injury, doing air quotes, and not play on Sunday. Because if we learn anything from this Earl Thomas incident, the guy wanted out, he wanted to be traded, now he's injured, trade value gone. Lev wants to get paid. If he does play, great for you if you own him, but if you're still trying to trade him away or trade for him, that might be a little bit of leverage you can use.
If you're not trusting Lev Bell, and in a redraft league, I would not be trusting him. This is the best news you could have gotten, because I think it immediately brings his value up.
I don't think this does anything to his value. I think after what happened with Earl Thomas this past weekend, he did not want to play. He wanted a contract extension. He was going to hold out. The team said, if you don't come, you're a bad teammate. What does Earl Thomas do? He comes out, breaks his leg again in a contract year. He is furious with the Seahawks. We all saw it. He was giving them the bird as he's getting carted off the field. You know Le'Veon Bell saw that. They're talking Week 7 about a contract extension, but if he doesn't get a massive one, don't expect him to play. So if you're the honor owner, that's how you pitch your sell. I don't see Bell playing this year unless the Steelers give him the money he wants, which so far they haven't been planning on doing that.
So you think he would actually, if he suits up on Sunday and they say, hey, we want you to go in, you think he'd actually refuse to go in?
100%.
I agree.
I think he would say,
yeah.
I would 100% support him if he did that, to be brutally honest. I have a firm belief that every player in the NFL should have a guaranteed contract. There should be no contracts in the NFL that are not guaranteed. But that's another subject for another day. If I'm the Le'Veon Bell owner and I want to get away from him, I think this helps them have a little bit more leverage, and it increases the value on what they can get from him.
Yes, but when before you could use Le'Veon Bell to sell for, another high-end running back, right now his value, even with this quote-unquote good news for the playoff push, you're looking at Lamar Miller. So you're going to have to swing it by saying, hey, I need a running back right now. Let me downgrade to Lamar Miller because I can't hold Bell anymore. That's how you have to sell it. Like, give the guy, hey, I'm going to give you this great thing. You give me the poor thing because I can't afford to wait. Because in all reality, this means nothing for Bell. there's a very good chance he's still not playing at all this year.
I agree. I agree. I think you can get a lot more than Lamar Miller.
Yeah, no,
even at this point.
And we're going to talk about some of these running backs during the show, some of these underperforming guys that I think still have the skills and potential and just haven't been used properly that you could target if you're trading away Bell. But I agree with you guys. The relationship with the Steelers is beyond repair. He's not coming back to play and try to win a Super Bowl. I have a real negative outlook on this. It was a brutal weekend for legs this week.
It was terrible.
No, you know what it was? Is that people aren't stretching. They're listening to that Browns coach, and nobody's stretching because the guys coming on Omaha Beach, they didn't stretch. So nobody's stretching. They're all getting leg hurt.
Coming up bye week, though, we got to pay attention to these two teams. Chicago Bears, Tampa Bay Bucks on bye week 5. Lions and Saints off week 6. So let's get into the games. We talk about what we saw in team performance. So the Rams and Viking game was Thursday night. The guy I want to talk about most is Dalvin Cook. All right, so he's coming back off an injury, still kind of healing up. Only 10 carries, 20 yards, no second-half carries. What did you see from Dalvin Cook in this game?
I saw someone who's getting balled up. The Rams' D-line is very good, and this was a air-it-out game. There was no room for running. No one performed on the ground, really. And, I mean, if I was the Rams in this situation, I would have abandoned the run game as well. Get the ball in the air, start scoring quick because, if I was the Vikings, would have abandoned Dalvin Cook. Get the ball in the air, start scoring quick because you weren't stopping the Rams.
Right, and what I saw on actual tape was it looked like they were using him wrong. They were trying to get him to run out of the backfield through handoffs, which 2 almost got completely fumbled. So they were lucky on that take. But when I've seen this guy be successful, it's catching passes out of the backfield at full speed, turning his body upfield, and making people miss on quick little cuts and stuff like that. Jason, what do you think about Dalvin Cook? A lot of people are down on him. For me, he's a trade target. I want to get this guy on my team because if they can use him right, the skill set to me is still there. What do you think of Dalvin Cook as a trade target?
I'm a little worried about him only because it's, he had injuries in college, right? And now he had injury last year. He comes out, first thing, he's already got an injury. He's not 100% back yet. Yes, they used him wrong, but do we expect them to use him right with that offensive line being as bad as they are? He is a buy low. In order for me to feel good about the trade, I would have to pay less than what you'd be willing to take for him. How about that?
Oh, okay. So you'd offer me not as much. Okay.
I'd offer you less than you'd be happy with.
Okay.
And then you just turn around and say no.
I would say no, thank you. I'm polite about it.
Oh, well, it's good to be polite. Maybe they didn't get him the ball outside because he just wasn't healthy enough to get there fast.
That's what I was thinking, too.
Well, not only that, but their O-line give him time to get outside?
No, Cousins didn't have a whole lot of time at all.
No.
That front 4 in LA is absolutely vicious with Sue and Aaron Donald up front. You can't double team both of those guys.
And Steve, you mentioned it. They just about stole the handoff twice.
Yeah.
In the first in the first 2 drives. It was crazy.
Well,
they set the tone early.
And they face a tough Eagles front in the next game, but they do have the Cardinals and the Jets. So I think if you're shopping for Cook, good things are to come. Maybe not next game, but down the line, I think he will turn it around. The Rams, however, they just look really good. Really the only guy I wanted to talk about on this team was Jared Goff. If he is available on your waiver wires, I think he's number 1 waiver pick if he's available. Not many leagues he is, but there's a few out there. And you're not selling anyone on this team, right? You're holding, even Robert Woods, you're holding on to all these guys, right?
If I can get something considerably good, I would be willing to sell. But I'm for the most part, you're probably holding.
I'd sell Cup. I kind of don't buy him. And after this week's performance, I would definitely try to sell high and upgrade to, it sounds like a stretch, but Jarvis Landry actually had a pretty mediocre game that was kind of lost in the offense. So if someone's feeling down at all about that, try to swing that trade.
I like that. Yeah, Cup had that one really fantastic touchdown that I think was a lot of Goff and a lot of Cup, but then he had that other one that was mostly play calling where he was just mismatched on a linebacker. He just outran the guy. So skills are there, but I mean, you might make a good point. He might not be able to do a lot, as much as you expect on his own without perfect play calling, which I think they did this.
I think
this
the
week.
talent's better than he is what I'm saying. Like the talent around him.
Okay,
You might be able to sell Goff. I imagine the way
Why would
most
you
drafts
sell
went,
Goff?
he wasn't your because I'm imagining the way most drafts went, he wasn't your first quarterback taken. So if you're sitting on two quarterbacks, and let's say realistically you've got like a Matt Ryan and a Goff, or a Drew Brees and a Goff, which is totally realistic.
Sell Brees.
I mean, there's no point in having two of those quarterbacks.
Why would you sell
Yeah,
Goff?
but what's
though?
your return? What's your return on investment with Goff, though? With Goff, you have a fantastic quarterback you can use right now. And to be completely honest, who pays high for quarterbacks?
I traded Andy Dalton today for Doug Baldwin. Let me just put it that way.
We already discussed that was, quote unquote, not fair. You took advantage of someone.
I mean, if you're looking at a guy who they had, what's his name from Jimmy G as their starter, and they went down and they picked up a Joe Flacco or a Ryan Tannehill this week. Listen, coming off of a game like that, you might be able to get something in return for him.
Yeah, I just think if I'm looking for value from a team like the Rams, I want to keep Goff, I want to trade Cup, and if I need a quarterback, guys, QBs, kickers, and defenses are three positions in fantasy football where you can stream the entire season and be okay.
All right, Bears and Buccaneers. Jason, I want to talk to you about the Super Bowl-esque performance of Trubisky. I truly believe the Bears could win the Super Bowl this year. They got a great defense. They got a very good offensive line, two good running backs, and some playmakers on the receivers. The question was always quarterback. This dude played out of his mind. What happened to your defense?
Mike Smith continues to happen to our defense about once or 5 times a year or so. We have one of these stinkers, and somebody scores 40 points before halftime, and then they put out their second team and take it easy on us and coast to a 60-0 lead. So what happened in this game? I mean, if you watch it, Trubisky looked okay from the standpoint of he found the targets he needed to, but there was nobody within 10 yards of any of them anytime they caught the ball. Like, I think you or I could go make some of those passes, and the guys were wide open enough they could run up underneath it.
Right.
The guys there was just no coverage. So, I mean, it's hard to take anything away from Trubisky this week just because their defense played so poorly. What I do want to say about this game is Cohen made that team look way more dynamic than Howard does.
And we were waiting for them to involve him a little bit. So Howard owners are pissed right now. Cohen owners are pissed he was on the bench. So I don't think you're going to see Cohen do this every week, but hopefully this signals some more involvement from him, and he might be a viable flex start.
I want to pull back the curtains a little bit and talk about the show notes, give people that fourth wall, and we're going to break it. And we got show notes here where you say Buccaneers have a tough run defense, and I am going to argue with that. They don't allow rushing yards because why would you run on them when you can pass 100 times for 5,000 yards?
All right, fair enough.
They still have a decent D-line. But that Cohen-Howard situation, last season we were saying that was going to shape up like a Tevin Coleman, Devontae Freeman. At some point, the Bears are going to realize that they're going to use both of their running backs extremely effectively out of the backfield. They just can't do it at the same time for some reason.
Right. Another thing about the Bears, it's when we talked about this last week, we mentioned Taylor Gabriel in the sleepers, or maybe look at this guy as a waiver. Had a huge game. He's on a 2-week hot streak. They are off this week, but is he somebody you might look at maybe rostering after the bye?
I started him this week, and I'm definitely going to keep this train rolling. It's the targets.
Yeah.
I don't think he's an exceptional receiver, but I think he's a trusted receiver, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm just looking for straight-up targets.
Well, and they're trying to get him the ball. They're looking for trick plays to get him the ball because they know what they have in him. So it's not just passes down the field, but they'll run jet sweeps and the touch passes.
Yeah, they want to use his speed.
So
He's the perfect guy with Mitch's arm. If there is a mismatch on him, gone. It's Deshaun Jackson in like 2011. If that corner can't keep up, just throw it deep.
On the Buccaneers side, everybody's going to want to ask questions about what does this team look like with Jameis Winston now being the named starter when they come back from bye. So I don't know even where to go. I mean, O.J. Howard's going to be out with the sprained MCL week, maybe up to 4 weeks. So I'm thinking Brate falls into that tight end waiver. If you lost your tight end this week, he's in that list. But what do you guys think? Do you think this offense stays as explosive and the same with Winston?
No. So fire up your PPR receivers because he will find he's a more medium pass range, so they'll go down the field, but it's not going to be a 50 to 70 yard bomb and a touchdown. It'll be, he'll pass it 5 times and for 50 yards, and it's going to spread the ball out some more. So, if you're in a PPR looking for catches, guys like Adam Humphries, who when Winston came in, he threw it to him 6 straight times, going to get a little bit of a boost.
Cowboys and Lions. Dak Prescott finally had, I guess you could call it a good game, but I still want zero part of this offense. The play calling's weird, and I don't trust them anymore. Elliott went crazy. The news came out today. He's playing through a knee and ankle injury. A little concerning there. If you're an Elliott owner, you might want to go grab Rod Smith just to be safe. So added to the tight end waiver selection, Geoff Swaim. Any thoughts?
He shows flashes, but I'm not the biggest fan of him. It's really matchup dependent, I guess.
I know you're a Beasley guy.
I'm a Beasley guy because the same reason I'm a Gabriel guy now. Beasley gets thrown at a million times, especially with Dez gone. They don't have that truly all-star big man anymore. Beasley's going to be the guy. Swaim could work out, but I kind of need to see more.
So I think Beasley is matchup dependent. He's not somebody you're going to go out and start every week. What? The only person you're starting week in, week out from Dallas is going to be Elliott, and that's about it.
If you're in a PPR, I like Beasley. He's consistent. Okay. He's someone that, he's not going to be a stud for you, but as a flex, especially, most of my leagues are PPR. I feel like the majority of leagues in general now are PPR, or there's some maybe half-point PPR. Beasley has value for that because he's the safety blanket. Was Witten for Romo? It's Beasley now. It's what Dak knows. If Elliott can't make the play, it's going to Beasley. The rest of the receivers are too green to really do anything.
So I'm looking at Beasley for the year so far in a PPR. 14.3 1 week, 3.3, 7.6, and then 9.3. Nothing there screams consistency.
Look at the season numbers from last year. It's a flex, and Dallas will figure it out. The play calling is very strange, but Dallas.
I don't trust Dallas to figure it out.
I do. They're always a decent team. The only missing piece is Dez now. Sorry.
So no, but I think to George's point a little bit, that we are calling this a good game for Dak Prescott, and he completed 17 passes. So the volume's just not there. I know what you're saying about Beasley being the target for what little volume there is, but it really is little volume.
Historically, this season, I know it's week 4 as a flex in the PPR. Go start him. Week 4, Beasley, when he is targeted, he catches the ball. He has very good hands. He'd fit in really well with the Patriots.
If he was on the Patriots, I'd like him too.
I know, but I'm saying even with Dak Prescott doesn't have a cannon. Prescott uses his checkdowns. Beasley is his number one. Now, the NFL might be realizing that and covering him more, and Dak, I don't think, is a good quarterback. I think he's very mediocre. Yeah, 3.3 points is bad, but 9's fine for a flex.
Yeah.
It's just not consistent enough. I think you could find somebody that give you that same type of production off the waiver wire in most 12-team PPR leagues, and they'll be more consistent.
The Lions are a passing team because what the hell with Kerryon Johnson's usage, 32-yard rip-off on the first play, then he only gets 8 more carries for the rest of the afternoon. Anyone who is encouraged by his usage last week, I don't know what to tell you. If you want to buy this guy or sell him, it's so middle of the road. He's clearly, to everyone watching, he's superior skills, but he's not in their game plan as a bell cow back. However, you got to look at the Cowboys defense coming up. If they don't get Sean Lee back, that defense does not look the same. was a situation maybe a year or two ago when Clay Matthews was missing games, and the Packers defense didn't look the same. When Luke Kuechly holy is that hard to say? The Panthers defense
misses games.
The Panthers defense is not the same when Luke K misses games. So when you're looking at the Texans, the Jags, the Redskins, and the Titans on the Cowboys schedule, I'm going to suggest you might want to throw in some slot receivers and some receiving running backs against them. Some of those guys that may be on the fence, they might have good success.
As far as the Lions go, when is the last time they've had a bell cow running back? If you
Barry
have
Sanders.
Exactly. If you have a Lions running back, do not start them. You cannot trust them. You just can't. It's a bye-week desperation flex play.
Yeah, I agree. I've been saying it all year, and he proved me wrong last week when he went up over 100 yards. But the problem with that Lions backfield is everybody has a role. LeGarrette Blount's going to get his carries. Theo Riddick's going to get his checkdowns, and he's going to be in there on pass plays. LeGarrette Blount's going to be the running back if it's short yardage. Everything else will be carry on. And until the Lions figure out that, hey, carry on is the best running back we have on this team, and we should probably give it to him instead of LeGarrette Blount.
It doesn't. I don't think it matters.
It's just.
I don't think that
you're going to get this.
No, I just don't think it matters. I mean, shit, we're not employed by the NFL, and we see it. You know, they see it, right? So it doesn't matter.
Patricia he's loyal to LeGarrette Blount. I think it's from their time in New England. It's the only thing I can think of.
That's ridiculous.
The thing, though, LeGarrette Blount, once he gets started, if you can get him on a roll, and the issue is the Lions really don't have the offensive line to do this, if you can give him a 3-yard cushion where he can start getting his momentum going in a carry, he will move the chain. He will move the ball. He is a good running back. It's just the Lions aren't a team that has ever been built for a run game, at least not for the last decade.
Yeah, but so you don't have to be built for a run game to see that when you put Kerryon Johnson on the field, the guy actually makes plays. Is this just coaching staff? No doubt. Yeah, this is just a coaching staff being stubborn with their guy. Well, they brought him in, and they're going to be stubborn with his guy, and it's just I don't understand it. The rest of the football world doesn't understand it, but look, that's why the Lions didn't win. That's one of the reasons why the Lions won't win.
And their defense is not really that good. I think maybe 2-3 years, couple of drafts, couple of off seasons, Patricia might be able to build that defense into something good. But right now, they're giving up points to they give 26 points to the Cowboys. So just keep in mind, I would not stream the Lions defense if I could help it. Packers beat the Bills 22-0. Aaron Rodgers doesn't look like himself. Accuracy was off again this week, only 1 touchdown and interception. This is a bad trend, and I don't know when it's going to end. But, most of the skills positions players manage to have decent PPR days. Allison, who we told you to look at on waivers last week, just barely missed a touchdown. But the big conversation here is Williams and Jones. You guys have been telling me Williams, better pass blocker, better inside. They're going to keep him on the field. Dude can't run down the field. Aaron Jones is the guy to start, the guy to own. I think you can't argue with me anymore.
No, and that's what we were telling, Jason and I were telling that to on the Sunday Blitz when we get these questions pop up. We were actually propping up Jones pretty good.
Thank you. Thank you for coming around.
We listened to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So with the Packers facing the Lions, man, I like that matchup for running back. 49ers, Rams, and Pats coming up after that. I think if Aaron Rodgers can get right, they're going to throw the ball some more. Let me talk about the Bills real quick. I guess the big story here was Charles Clay, 4 for 46. Again, this is a injury-ridden or tight end injury week. So Clay may end up on that list of possible tight ends. He's really the only guy doing anything receiving-wise there.
If you're desperate, and I mean you have to be in like a 16-team league type desperate, that's the only way you're playing Charles Clay.
He's at the bottom of the list.
I honestly don't know if you have to be that desperate. There's been so many injuries to tight ends. Is there 12 more rosterable tight ends compared to Clay? I mean, you could probably make a case for 12, but man, it's close.
Yeah, I think we could come up with 12. I mean, I can think of about 8 or 10 right off the top of my head.
Yeah, even with a couple teams on bye weeks that have fantasy producing tight ends and Burton and OJ Howard's out, but Cameron Brate. I mean, you could still find 12 other tight ends that you would much rather play than Charles Clay.
Max, Bills' offensive line looks bad, correct?
The Bills are bad.
Okay, enough said.
We're done with the Bills. Let's go.
Titans and Eagles. I don't think anyone picked the Titans to win this game. This was kind of surprising. I want to give credit to Mike Vrabel. I think he's done a really good job with this team, except for Derrick Henry. We haven't seen Derrick Henry succeed yet, but when Mariota's healthy, this team is better. He threw 43 times. Great game. Corey Davis was the standout here. The guy I think people are going to question is Tawan Taylor. Steadily been increasing with his targets and his receptions throughout the first part of the season here. 7 for 77 caught my eye. Is he a waiver wire target, and would you feel comfortable starting him when the Titans play the Bills next week?
Start everyone on the Titans against the Bills. Everyone.
Okay.
Yeah, Tywan Taylor is the reason they got rid of they let Rashard Matthews go. So I agree with Max. Next week, if they're playing the Bills, go ahead and start everybody.
This could be the high week for Derrick Henry. Like, I'm not happy. Like, it seems like his carries go up and down every other week. Only 8 carries this week. But if he has a successful game against the Bills, I don't know if anyone's going to buy him. But
sell
maybe.
Him high?
Yeah, I mean, try.
Well, listen, so every week we watch the Titans, we look at their players, and we ask how they're winning. I mean, you look at what Derrick Henry and Deion Lewis did, and you go, how did they win?
It was the same last year. We said this team should not have this record, but they do it.
So what I'm going to say with Henry is they have to be ahead for him to get a lot of carries. Yeah. And you look at this team and go, they're never going to be that far ahead.
Yeah.
So Bills are a good shot at that. I mean,
I was about to say, then you look across the field and you see the Bills, you're like, oh, never mind.
And we're all saying that, and we all said that a couple weeks ago against Minnesota. So, yeah. Man, who knows? It's the NFL. They're insane.
The Titans' defense looks pretty good, though. So you may really want to look at them against the Bills and maybe even the Cowboys in a couple of weeks when they play. Not much to say about the Eagles. It was nice to see Alshon come back and have a monster game, and Jay Ajayi 15 carries. So what we said last week about them being the Patriots and spreading their running back around a lot, I don't know if it's health or just let's get him in there. But they used him throughout the whole game. So you like to see
health.
that.
Jay Ajayi will be the starting back there. He's the most talented.
That's what I think, too. Texans and Colts. The guy I want to talk about with Will Fuller's injury to the hamstring. We don't quite know what's going to happen. This guy, Keke Coutee for the Texans. 11 of 15 for 109. It seems like if you're a wide receiver for the Texans, you're going to get targeted. You're going to get catches. Lamar Miller stinks, so this guy's worth a waiver easily, right?
15 targets? I got to take him. I got to try and pick him up.
I do, too.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that.
Yeah, I think as long as Will Fuller is out, he'll be something. And I think that's going to be because of the DeAndre Hopkins effect. Anybody who's across from DeAndre Hopkins has shown to have value, whether it's Coutee, Will Fuller.
How many podcasts are going to play that Drake song when they talk about this guy?
Way too many.
Probably all of them. We're not that cliche.
We have class. We won't do it.
Chester Rodgers on the Colts. Eric Ebron on the Colts. Worth a look. Ebron actually might be higher on the list than the other tight ends if you're looking for a tight end to replace.
After this, so far up to this point in the season, Eric Ebron, and this is disgusting, but he's the number 5 overall tight end in a half-point PPR.
Wow.
Yeah.
But can I say Chester Rodgers is not even worth a look. He's worth an ad. So I just read a rumor T.Y. Hilton has a broken clavicle.
What?
So when he got popped, yeah. So he could be out for some time. So Chester Rodgers looks like the play.
He's for sure not playing Thursday, right? So
yeah, he's for sure not playing Thursday. So everybody said he's not playing.
Even if the clavicle thing is just a rumor, Chester Rodgers is your number 1 or I guess number 2, but He's going to be your starter this week.
Nyheim Hines, huge game. Maybe worth a look if you're desperate at running back this week. If you got Kamara out, if you've got Howard and Cohen out, the guy might be. What am I talking about? Kamara. If you got Howard and Cohen, and not like you're starting anybody on the Bucks runnings game, but if you were,
no, Hines is definitely worth a look if you're desperate.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if Indy pulls a trade off to get Lev Bell? They have so much money, they could pay that man handsomely.
Pay that man his money.
That'd be so horrifying to watch. It'd be like a Mod Bradshaw on crack.
And they could ship out a couple running backs for him. Why not trade? They got enough. They got enough.
Give them everybody else.
Yeah, 3 for 1.
Literally everyone. Take them all.
It's like a fantasy football trade. All 3 of our running backs for yours. I love it. The Dolphins and the Patriots. George, I'm going to start with you on this one. Let's talk about your guy, Josh Gordon. I looked at his 2 catches, 2 short, simple routes. Didn't look amazing off the line. I've said before that I don't think he's a fantastic route runner. Physically gifted, sure, but not a great fit for the route running accuracy the Patriots demand. It's clearly not fully integrated into the play calling yet, but did you like what you saw, and do you see bigger things for him?
Yes, I do see a lot of bigger things. They played him a lot on 3rd down. He wasn't in for 1st or 2nd down. Every time I seen him come in, it was a 3rd down. He was hit by Brate on a little slant, and he caught the ball at the 7, and he carried about 3 of the Miami defenders to the 2. He almost carried them all into the end zone for a touchdown. So I also believe he only played something like 20 snaps or 25 snaps or something like that. So there are better things to come for Josh Gordon. I wasn't expecting a whole lot out of him his first game. Miami, surprisingly, has a pretty decent secondary. They lead the NFL in takeaways, they're 2nd overall in the NFL in takeaways. They are 1st overall in interceptions. They added to both of those totals over the weekend. So their secondary has actually been pretty good. As far as Josh Gordon, I wouldn't start him again next week. Okay. I would give him a couple weeks to get fully integrated into the system. But I think come week 5, week 6, week 7, and so forth, you'll appreciate what you got in Josh Gordon.
Max, you're a Gordon guy from a long time ago.
I think it's his first week in a new system. He's coming off an injury. All systems go. Start him next week. Don't be afraid to put him in flex. I don't know if I trust him enough to start him as, if you're a 2-receiver league or a 3-receiver league, but he's definitely a flex, and he's the best receiver the Patriots have had in a long time. I know, Edelman, but as far as purely talented, Josh Gordon is, I've said this many times to you, Steve, a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL.
I hear this week in and week out. Josh Gordon. He's the best. I've heard somebody on this show right now say he's better than Brandon Cooks.
What?
He is.
You're wrong.
He is better than Brandon Cooks.
I hear he's a better wide receiver. Dude, when was the last time he showed that on the field?
2 years ago.
How many?
3 years ago? I don't know. He smokes a lot of weed.
Yeah.
I would say last year when he came in and was on pace to be a top 16, top 17 wide receiver.
And then what happened?
Yeah, what happened to that pace?
The season ended?
We constantly talk about his pace.
Hold on.
And his ability, but man, until you show it on the field, you have to stop talking about that.
He had 2 seasons where he was unbelievable on not even arguably the worst team in the NFL for the last decade. This man is showing you week in, week out that he's fantastic. I got in an argument the other day.
Wait, he's showing me how many catches? We're at week 4. How many of these weeks?
When he plays a full game, when he does play a full game with a competent, you're not even competent, with targets. Get the ball in his vicinity. He pulls it down. He is more athletically gifted than 90% of the receivers in the NFL. Is he better than Brandon Cooks? Yes, he is. Tom Brady spreads the ball around.
Exactly.
The last time Brady had a wide receiver this talented, it was Randy Moss.
We keep saying, and then after Randy Moss, we got Chad Ochocinco.
Yeah. Nobody was saying Ochocinco.
Here it goes again.
Randy Moss. Nobody was saying that.
Here we go again. He got another one of these wide receivers that's going to put up big numbers. But we keep saying he's amazing.
He is amazing. He is.
He is the best couch surfer I have ever seen.
And guess what? He's a couch surfer that puts up better numbers. Dude, this is like a little argument I got in last week about Crowell, and I don't understand why the Browns got rid of him. He was great. They should have kept him. He was terrible. He was this. He was inconsistent, blah, blah, blah. Well, if you look at his yards per carry, he was top 3 in the NFL 3 seasons in a row. He didn't look good because he was on the Browns, but he's a very good running back. Yes, he's missed a lot of time, but when he plays and gets targeted, he does amazing things. If you look at his metrics, his statistics, his numbers, he's an upper echelon wide receiver. If I took Julio Jones and put him on the Browns the last 4 years, it's not going to be Julio Jones. Jarvis Landry's great, but he's going to. I love Jarvis Landry, but he's never been considered an unbelievable receiver. But guess what? Jarvis Landry leads the NFL in receptions since he was drafted. But people don't look at the numbers. They want the flash. They want the pizzazz. Gordon doesn't have that because he's been suspended.
Yeah, but I want points on the field week in and week out, and until the guy starts putting games together, claiming he's better than receivers getting 100 yards every week is insane.
But the talent was there. His talent hasn't gone anywhere the last 2 years.
How many catches does he have this year, George?
How many games has he played? If he was talented,
if his catches aren't as high as Chris Hogan, raise your hand.
We're making a bet right now, and I will put money down.
All right, finally we get to something.
I mean, listen, we're looking at Chris Hogan going, "You're awful." He has more catches and more touchdowns than Josh Gordon.
But when you play more games and when you play more snaps, statistically, the odds are statistically that you're probably going to have more receptions and yards.
But look
he got traded from the Cleveland Browns to the most difficult passing offense to learn in the Patriots. You expect him, he sat out the first game, and then you expect him to come in the second game where
Please stop yelling.
He snaps.
Please stop yelling.
He snaps, Jason.
Please stop yelling.
Come on, man.
Please stop yelling.
What you're telling me is, wait. What you're telling me is a guy who historically doesn't play many games.
A guy who's had troubles the troubles are behind him, yes.
You expect? Oh, okay. So we're crystal ball. All his troubles are gone because.
Crystal ball. He's not going to play another game because of his past.
George, I'm not saying he's not playing another game, George. What I'm saying is historically he doesn't play a lot of games. Historically, I doubt the offense he was on was all that difficult. It was run under the pass. And now we're taking him and we're putting him on a difficult offense to learn where he didn't have any time to gel with his quarterback, kind of like Sammy Watkins last year, which you used as an excuse for why he didn't play well all year last year.
Sammy Watkins is trash.
And then we're putting him on the Patriots where they may or may not use him depending on the game.
They will,
and you're going to tell me he's amazing. Going to be amazing.
They will absolutely use him.
Can I have 1 second?
Absolutely.
I have 1 second. So, Jason, what you're telling the fans right now, guys, Le'Veon Bell hasn't played at all yet. He's probably not going to play to Week 7, so he has 0 snaps at all this year. That means he has 0 rush yards. Cut him. He's trash.
That's not what he's saying.
Get rid of him.
That's not what he's saying.
Andrew Luck.
That's a ridiculous argument.
It's not what
no, it's not because Le'Veon.
All right, I got to mute you guys. George, you're yelling too much.
Hold on. Not done yet.
Raise your hand. Hold on, Max. I'm just going to jump on real quick. Let's all raise our hand if we have as many rushing yards and touchdowns as Le'Veon Bell this year.
This is a radio show. Nobody can see your hand, you idiot. Stop.
Well, they're
raising your hand.
Raising them at home.
You have to make a sound effect for the people to understand.
No, because they were all raising their hand with me.
Just snaps. Snaps if you have as many rush yards as Le'Veon Bell. That being said, Andrew Luck's missed 2 seasons. Andrew Luck gets hurt quite a bit. No one should own Andrew Luck.
Andrew Luck can't throw more than 20 yards.
Who has a history of coming in after not playing at the beginning of the season and being amazing? Raise your hand. Since we're doing this, raise your hand if you think Lev Bell has come in after missing a few games and come out and been
Josh Gordon. You've made my point.
Listen, can the guy be good? Can the guy be good? Yes, but he hasn't, so stop calling him good.
He's on the best team he's playing with the best quarterback in the history of the NFL. He's going to be good.
Okay.
Start him as a flex, give it a few weeks, he'll be fine as a flex for the next 3 weeks. And in 3 weeks, he will be your number 1 receiver unless you're rocking Julio or maybe Odell.
I couldn't disagree more with that. I say hold off on him until he proves it. Don't start him at his flex right away. I got to agree with Jason on this one. He's coming from the Browns.
It's wild, but I'm coming in hot, Steve. I'll come at the neck. Do not talk shit about Josh Gordon.
He's coming into a very, very, very disciplined route-based system, and I don't think he's got that skill. I'm not saying he doesn't have physical skills and amazing talents. I just don't think he has a mind for the game that the Patriots demand to be as great as you guys say he can be. I'm not saying he couldn't be. I'm just saying not this year. If he stays with the team and he plays all year and he's there next year, that guy has tremendous potential next year. But I don't see it this year, especially with guys like James White leading the team in receiving. Philip Dorsett had action. Cordarrelle Patterson played well, decently enough in PPR. This team spreads the ball so much.
Bad receivers good. And good receivers great.
And you got Michelle with 25 carries. So I didn't see a lot of this game. Let me ask you guys, did you see, was Sony Michel's opportunity based on the fact that they had a lead, or were they using him when they were trying to score?
They were using him throughout the whole game. Through
the whole game? Okay. So that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, that looks good. Let's move on to Miami real quick. I didn't intend for this to go so long on Josh Gordon. But
sorry, guys.
Everybody. Okay, so Drake owners are going to be concerned. 2 horrible weeks, only 3 touches. I don't think he had much of a chance to run because the Dolphins were down so quickly. Dolphins face the Bengals, the Bears, the Lions, and the Texans coming up. I think if you're going to buy Drake, if you are so inclined, you might want to wait a week or 2, but you might want to pull the trigger sooner than later. I don't want to ask why they're not using him because I think I understand, but I don't think the skill set is gone from last year.
Yeah, what concerns me about Kenyon Drake is this seemed like it would have been a Kenyon Drake kind of game. They were behind, and he is a pass-catching back. He's probably the better pass-catching back in that backfield, and yet they still couldn't find a good way to get him on the field.
That's because he didn't look good. I don't know if he's got an injury that's just not disclosed, or I have no idea what's going on with him, but he's looked terrible the first 4 games of this year. He's not worth starting in any format. Frank Gore has looked significantly better than him every single game. He looks good despite his age. As far as Kenyon Drake, he's not worth starting. Bench him.
I'd bench him for now, but it's the Lamar Miller effect. Last time Miami had a really good receiving back who could also run, similar to Drake, they would misuse him all the time. He would have an unreal game. The next week he'd get 5 carries. No one knew why. I trust Patriots running backs more than I trust Miami running backs.
That's kind of why he's a buy low for me. I think the skills are there, not being used properly. They may figure it out. Hopefully they figure it out, but I can't endorse Frank Gore starting at all. Garbage time touchdown saved his game. He is not a starter, not even in flex. I'm sorry. That team to me is filled with non-starters. Drake is the only guy I want on that as a low price trade target. Jaguars and Jets. So Sam Darnold's issues, can't throw downfield or doesn't want to. That hurts Robbie Anderson's value. We've seen this a couple weeks now. The guys I want to talk about are on the Jaguars side. So Moncrief had the game. Westbrook had a game. Yeldon had a game. Fournette, who knows? But Cole, consistency is the issue. Is this the thing, like you guys all loved Keelan Cole so much, you continue to shower him with praise, but his downfall, I believe, is what Blake Bortles is going to show up that week. To me, he's no longer a safe flex start. I can't have a guy in my team that's 2 for 15.
None of the wide receivers are a safe flex start. I
think Westbrook could be.
I don't know. I mean, every week it's a different wide receiver having a big game there.
Well, I don't want any of them, to be honest. I wouldn't want any of them to start, and I really wouldn't want any of them on my roster, except if I was desperate, I'd take Cole. I'd probably have Westbrook over Cole, to be honest with you, though.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to agree with Steve. Westbrook probably is the safest. I think the most talented on that team is probably Moncrief. Cole shows flashes, but I don't think he's good enough or experienced enough to know how to play with Blake Bortles. He might grow into it, but you're not looking for the ball to come to you. You're looking for the ball to be relatively near you with Blake Bortles. Like, that's how you got to play him.
People are going to be looking at Moncrief, Westbrook on waivers. I would suggest if you had to pick up one of them, it's Westbrook. Max, you think Moncrief is more talented though?
Well, even on Indy, Moncrief was great. I'm not really sure why Indy got rid of him. He's just a talented wide receiver. Like he's a veteran. He knows what he's doing, and I do like Westbrook, and the talent is clearly there. So either one, I'd coin flip. I wouldn't want to start either. Wouldn't want to start any receiver from Jacksonville who wasn't named Allen Robinson, and he's not there anymore. So
okay,
it's not a bad week though. They play the Chiefs next, so I guess if you're desperate, that team gives up a lot of points.
Yeah,
and Fournette is don't expect him to play next week. The coach said he's going through the hamstring still bothering him, and he doesn't know about his status yet.
Yeah, looks like another Yeldon week probably.
I looked it up while you guys were talking. D.D. Westbrook, he had 9 receptions this game. Prior to coming into this game, he's only had 12 all year. So, like I said, I'm a consistency person. Westbrook,
3 games. You said it like it's 14 games. It's 3 games.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and they stunk last week. They scored what? Not 6 points last week. So throw that one out.
Well, you can't throw it out. It happened.
No, but you could throw it out in terms of Blake Bortles playing awful, which I said in the beginning of this take. You're going to get those weeks from Blake Bortles, but when he's on, who do you want on that team?
Yeah, you want Westbrook or Moncrief. Personally,
Cole's the upside guy. Then
Cole's the upside guy. That's exactly Cole's. You have a roster spot you can kind of waste. Cole.
I appreciate you looking up the stats, George.
He's complaining about only 9 catches for Westbrook and excited about 5 catches for Gordon.
Yeah.
5 catches in 2 games. Get it right.
Right. Let's go on to the Bengals and the Falcons. The Falcons are having no problem scoring. It surprised me to find out they're in last place in the NFC South. They cannot stop anyone on offense, it doesn't look like. So if you're going up against, if you have skill players going up against the Falcons, I say go for it. Their defense is hurting. They're missing some players. Dalton, to me, has always been a I don't know kind of guy, but that team really looks like they're clicking. And we told you last week to look at Tyler Boyd. Huge game this week. Guy I want to talk about with Eifert out, the big question mark is going to be, are people picking up Kroft or C.J. Uzomah? Or neither?
I'd pick up Kroft.
Yeah, I would go with Kroft as well.
Dalton trusts him. They've used him in the past when Eifert's down because Eifert's always down. So, I mean, if you need a tight end, Kroft is definitely a pretty safe play because Dalton loves the tight end.
So if we're like imagining our tight end waiver list, for those of you that lost your tight end, is Kroft at the top, in the middle, or at the bottom?
I'm probably going to put him near the top.
Top.
I mean, this Bengals schedule is phenomenal coming up. There's only 1 or 2 games the rest of the year that I kind of give a little raise of the eyebrow to. That's at the Ravens and the Steelers, and that's it. And I expect the Steelers to be a high-scoring game anyway. It'll be physical, but I expect it to be high-scoring as well. So I would put Kroft really I'd probably have him as my number 1 tight end waiver ad.
Mohamed Sanu is the other guy I want to mention. If he's on your waiver wire, grab that guy immediately because that offense is firing on all cylinders, and their upcoming schedule against the Steelers, the Bucs, the Giants, and the Redskins. I mean, you've seen Calvin Ridley now go off 2 weeks in a row. If you think defenses aren't going to have to deal with him and Julio, and Mohamed Sanu is going to be a sneaky little play, that guy is a solid flex for you. Got over 100 yards this week.
Well, he was great last year, too.
Yeah, he was.
Well, and the fact of the matter is, like you said at the beginning, they can't stop anybody on defense, so they have to pass it on offense. They're going to – I mean, everybody's getting targets, so start all your Falcons.
You have to. Yeah, you have to. Now, on the Bengals side, just real quick – Gio's been looking real good. I should say Giovanni. I heard he doesn't like to be called Gio. Giovanni Bernard has been looking real good. Mixon, we still don't know when he's coming back. But do you see a huge hit in Mixon's production when he does come back, given that he looks so good?
How do you take the ball from the hot hand? And not even like the hot hand, like one of the hottest hands. Gio's killing it, and he deserves, in all reality, the opportunity to keep killing it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue with that. Like, Mixon looked good when he was in as well. But, you know, it's really going to be like one bad game, and then we're going to go back to a really like a 60-40 split mix-in, but until Geo gives it up, it's his.
So he's going to have value. I mean, he's going to have flex value in a PPR for the rest of the season, is what I think, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Right.
Especially in a PPR.
But let's move on to the Raiders and Browns. Who would have picked the over/under on the total score of this game? But
we all had it over 80, right?
Yeah. Sure. The guys I want to talk about, the people are going to be interested in: Nick Chubb, 2 touchdowns, long runs, only 3 carries. Bear in mind, I don't think he's worth the waiver ad just yet. Amari Cooper, another good game. I still think he's a sell high. And J.Cook, a great game. I think he's a hold on to him for the whole year kind of guy. Thoughts?
He was last year.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. Nick Chubb, not worth owning. Amari Cooper, sell him if you can. And J.Cook is definitely worth keeping.
So here's what I'll say about Nick Chubb. And he's not a guy I'm picking up during the waivers, but I might pick him up after your waivers clear. And because what I'll say is, after this week where they play the Ravens, they play the Chargers, Bucks, and Steelers, and I can see Nick Chubb getting in there and doing well. So if you are looking for a running back and you're desperate, maybe you pick him up and stash him for a week before he goes off on one of those other weeks, and you have to spend your waiver position or a lot of your fab budget.
If you're a Duke Johnson owner, are you maybe switching him out for Nick Chubb for more upside?
I'm not. He got 3 carries. He's not going to rush for 63 and 41 yards again and go up over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns again on 3 carries. It's just not happening.
All right.
And Duke Johnson had 4 receptions for 45 yards, and that's kind of what you have him for.
Right.
He's your flex PPR running back.
If you're a Hyde owner, though, I think you might look at Nick Chubb a little bit more closely because I don't see they're just not using Duke. And if Hyde misses times, I don't see Duke slotting into that role. I think it's going to be a mix of Chubb.
I think the only way Chubb becomes of any type of value is if Hyde gets injured.
All right.
That's it.
I wanted to ask you guys one question about Baker's performance this week because his 50% completion rate was a little startling. And I don't know if it was the fault of the receivers or something that I think I saw last week when he came in the second half. He was making passes. I'll agree he was going downfield. His passes were quick, relatively accurate, but what I saw was they seemed to be a bit behind his receivers. He hadn't quite worked out that leading to the receiver touch yet. Was that more? Did you guys catch that in this game? I didn't get a chance to look at the film yet, but was that the case, or was it his receivers that were just not catching the ball?
I think it was a little from column A and from column B. Some of the passes weren't exactly where you would want them. Callaway, though, and I didn't watch as much of this as I should have, but every time I turned it on, I saw Callaway drop another pass, or it seemed like he dropped another pass. And I'll have to go back and look at the stats to see exactly how many he missed, but I don't think his receivers are doing him any favor. If only they had kept Josh Gordon.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, boy.
They would have scored 73 points if they had Josh
Gordon.
Gordon.
Blowout and crazy bloodbath.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is something I wanted to look at, listeners. If you want to look at Mayfield's tape, just see what you see in terms of his timing. I think it's going to improve down the line if it's off because he is he looks like to be an accurate passer. But you might be a little, disappointed in your receivers right now for the Browns if you're running them out there. I think they're all going to get better throughout the year. Seahawks and Cardinals, really, what is there to talk about? Earl Thomas, the whole thing, we saw it. What a disgusting act. I think it just goes to show the dysfunction of this team. Max, you're a Seahawks fan, and I know that when this team acts bad and looks dysfunctional, it hurts you deep down. So let it out, man. This is therapy. Just let it out.
So let's just talk about this real quick. So I hated Seattle's defense as good as it was because it was just full of prima donnas. Just full of them. And then they got rid of everyone. And I was so happy. I was like, we got Cam and we got Thomas. Studs. I love both of them. Chancellor retires. And I'm like, damn it. All right, we got Thomas. Arguably the best safety in the NFL. Oh, he wants a contract extension. All right, Seattle's got money. And the summer goes on. And the summer goes on. And the summer goes on. And it's like, why isn't Seattle paying him? Why is the rest of the team telling him he's a bad player? Why is he going to be a bad teammate? Because he wants more money, because he's already had a couple really severe injuries. And guess what? He comes back and he's still one of the best safeties in the NFL. Why won't Seattle pay him? And then he goes and gets hurt. Gives the team the finger, and I don't blame him. Honestly, I don't. I don't at all. They should have paid him. It's the exact reason why I said Le'Veon Bell won't play for the Steelers this year, unless they give him the contract extension, because these guys are putting their physical health in the line, and they're one injury away from not only ever walking again or possibly dying, but one injury away from their money. And he knew that. That's why he didn't want to play. But Earl Thomas is a man of extreme integrity and loyalty to his team, so he showed up and he suited up. If I was Seattle, I'd give him a contract just as a thank you. I know they won't. He'll be on Dallas next year, and he's going to kill it. Seattle's defense, it'll be good. It won't be great. It'll be good. Pete Carroll is a defensive coach. That's what he does. Their offense looked okay. The Cardinals are also a dumpster fire. Take what you want from that. The only plus I could see is Tyler Lockett's emerging, and Mike Davis should be the starting running back.
Well, they said Mike Davis is going to get worked in, and that he'll share the duties even if Chris Carson comes back. Not Rashard
They need to
Penny.
commit. They need to commit. Davis is the first running back to get in that field since Lynch and really show up.
Yeah.
I mean, we had Rawls, but Rawls was too small to run the way he ran. I said it back then. I like Davis a lot, and I hope that they just give him the ball 20 times a game. Go from there.
Honestly, I don't want to trust anybody from this team, to be honest. I know you guys like Baldwin. He didn't like quite the same. I don't. What?
Don't trust anyone.
No, okay. Tight end, another one on the list, Nick Vannett. Preseason hype was pretty good around this guy. Where does he fall on that tight end waiver list for you guys? Top, middle, or bottom?
Middle to me. I mean, he lost playing time to Hugh Disley.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
yeah, but Disley also showed up and is very talented. But now that he's out, Vannett is going to be a middle guy for me because Russell Wilson likes his tight ends.
Right. Gotcha.
Yeah, I was going to say middle as well.
On the other side of the ball, there's another tight end that might be on your waiver wire that you may be looking at. Rick Seals-Jones. And this is the first time we saw Rosen. Looked better than Bradford. At least more aggressive. Tried to push the ball downfield. What do you guys think about maybe adding Ricky Seals-Jones? Let's throw him on the tight end waiver list. Is top, middle, or bottom for you?
Right now he's at the bottom for me.
Bottom.
He's at the top for me.
Top for you. Why?
Because Rosen's a better quarterback than Bradford. I don't know why people keep trying to force Bradford into things. It just doesn't make sense to me. That being said, Arizona somehow sneakily always uses their tight ends, and with a young quarterback without much experience, they're going to turn to their checkdowns. They're going to turn to their tight ends.
I was hoping when Rosen would come in, I knew he would come in eventually. I was hoping that whole offense would get better just by the fact that he's going to be pushing the ball a bit more and those checkdowns. And the guys that benefit that are going to be DJ and the tight end and Fitzgerald to an extent. So, George, you're not as hype on this team?
No, the only person really worth starting on that team right now is David Johnson. I can't get behind starting Fitz.
I'm not saying you would. I'm not saying you would. I'm just saying like you're not dropping him, right? Like I'm looking at
definitely not dropping him.
Potential to improve. I think this team has some of the best potential to improve throughout the season.
I don't think, even with all the tight end injuries, I don't think anybody's rushing out to add RSJ.
New Orleans Saints, New York Giants. I want to add Ben Watson to the tight end waiver list. Top, middle, or bottom for you guys? Ben Watson.
Bottom.
I just picked him up too.
Man, looking at their schedule, it is not pretty. So I'm gonna go middle because he's on a good offense. But yeah, I'm not liking their schedule coming up next 4 games.
All right. So when they come back from the bye, I don't know if Ingram has a full-time job. I think that Kamara has proven himself that he can be a full-time back. Your thoughts?
Agreed.
I think they're still so Kamara can be a full-time back. I think they're going to allow Mark Ingram to be the rushing down back there. I don't think they want to overwork Kamara.
Well, they just did for 4 games.
Yeah, Yep, and I think they're going to cut back a little bit of his usage.
And they had other guys they could have put in there. So why did
none of those good back?
None of those other guys. None of those other guys though are as good as Mark Ingram.
But none of those other guys are as old as Mark Ingram. And Mark Ingram, we don't like. That's the thing with running backs every year, especially when they're older. You don't know if they're going to come back the same. Gillislee, we thought he was going to be the starter for the Bills, not even 2 seasons ago. And he's definitely a talented running back. It's fine in the Patriots. So if they were worried about Kamara at all, Gillislee would be getting more than 2 snaps, or 2 touches, rather. So Mark Ingram is definitely going to take work from Kamara, but not enough to concern me.
Yeah.
Mark Ingram's coming off a season where he was an RB1. He's going to get work. They're not going to just not use the guy.
Here's my concern is that Breeze is going to take a step backwards, because last year you saw them use this 2 running back system. They were dominant with it. And if there was a time ever to sell Breeze, I would say now is the time. If you're going to try to sell a quarterback, maybe you flip him for like a Jared Goff. We talked about them at the top of the show. But this team could very easily switch back to how they did last year, and their defense is not the same as it was last year. So they definitely have to put up points to stay in games. Anything from the Giants? Not really. Only thing I like to say is these number 2 receivers seem to do really well against the Saints. So look at their upcoming schedule. They got the Redskins, Ravens, Vikings, and Rams. Take what you will from that. Look at those number 2 wide receivers to play against the Saints. Chargers and the 49ers. I thought the Chargers played really bad. They should have won this game, or they should have lost this game, I should say. But Kendrick Bourne was the guy on the 49ers people are going to look at. Worth the waiver ad?
Probably. I believe Pettis is injured. Yep. Goodwin, we don't know really if he played, but we don't know if he's 100%. Right. Kendrick Bourne looked pretty good this week. I think he's definitely worth an ad. I can't imagine that the 49ers are ever going to be ahead to the point where they're going to run the ball a lot. I imagine they're going to play catch up quite a bit, which is going to lend the opportunities to the wide receivers.
Mike Williams, concerned that he disappeared at all?
They had a bad week all around.
Yeah.
I mean, you said it. They should have lost this. I don't take a lot of this from Mike Williams. I mean, he's had a couple really great games in a row. So maybe we just chalk this one up to the whole offense kind of looked just off and kind of looked like they were looking past this game.
Yeah.
So, I don't take it for any – I don't put up the alarm yet on him.
Ravens, Steelers, Sunday night games. Alex Collins, have you seen enough yet? 11 for 42, fumble on the goal line.
Yeah, I've been saying it for 3.5 weeks now. Buck Allen's a thing.
I've been saying
he's their goal line back.
6 months. All right, so what do you do with Alex Collins, though? Because you drafted him in the 3rd or 4th round. So do you hold tight and hope that he comes back to some sort of form, or are you trying to ship him off?
I'm trying to trade him. If I can get something for him, look at somebody's team. If they're in need of a running back and you're in need of a wide receiver, if you can make it work, make it work. If you lost a tight end, maybe able to trade Alex Collins for a half-decent tight end.
What are you going to get?
Yeah.
I mean, you got to sell his touchdowns, right?
You got to sell the limited use that Buck Allen has been getting, even though he's been effective with it. You can say, listen, yes, he fumbled, but they trusted him enough to give it to him at the end zone.
Yeah, but you also got to think, though, Collins still averaged if you take away his 11-yard long run, he still averaged 3.7 yards per carry. He did perfectly fine. That's a better average than Buck Allen's on even, if you take away his 11-yard run, it's a better average than his 2.8 yards a carry. So that being, Alex Collins is the running back to own there. You're not going to get anything worth it for getting rid of him right now unless you want Kittle. And even then, the Kittle guy might not give you Kittle. I wouldn't get Kittle.
I would say, right now, I would not trade Kittle for Alex Collins. I really like George Kittle. He was one of the guys I said last week that even with Jim Garoppolo going down, I still would go out and play George Kittle. I don't think he's going to have much of a drop-off at all. And, I mean, went out and played fantastic. Yeah, he had a very long touchdown run, but hell, it counts.
You like him because he has the same name as you. Don't lie. George is stuck together.
That too.
I know the truth. Vance McDonald worked himself into the tight end waiver list with that beast mode-esque run after the catch. Dragged half the defensemen behind him. Where does Vance McDonald fall on your list in terms of tight ends? High, low, or medium?
I'm going to put it high.
Me too.
Yeah, me too. If he's going to keep trucking dudes, I'm going to keep trying to pick him up.
Yeah, if he's going to stiff arm you to the point where you got to go on IR, and then he's going to carry 6 or 7 guys with him on any given pass, that particular play fired up that entire team.
It did. Absolutely, yeah.
They looked completely different after that play. So I think they're going to keep trying to get McDonald more involved. I think Jesse James will regress a little bit. I like Vance McDonald. I'd have him as a high value add.
It was funny during the game they were talking about that stiff arm, and a couple funny things. One thing they said in the Steelers in the facility when teammates would walk past Vance, they would like jump back and throw themselves into the wall without being touched. And Chris Conte tweeted before the Minnesota game. He hadn't tweeted since like April. He tweeted out, "Boy, I hope somebody gets stiff armed tonight," because he had dealt with it all week. The memes, the GIFs, everything. So he had a good sense of humor about it. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
he makes a strong, solid.
My joke is that that man made Chris Conte retire at halftime.
Second one of the season. Who will be next?
Yeah.
All right, guys, we've talked a ton about these games. We've worked in a lot of waiver wire stuff. I want to just take a quick break. We're going to talk about waiver wire targets, anybody we didn't mention. All right, so back to the waiver wire real quick. We've talked about a lot of the guys that we would add, we would look at in the upcoming weeks. Is there anybody we've missed that's on your waiver list right now?
Ito Smith, Devontae Freeman's hopeful. We don't really know. I don't think Freeman has a major injury history. That being said, not looking good so far. Smith is someone I definitely roster. He's getting the short yardage work. He's a solid flex, and if Freeman's injury isn't good to go this week, I don't know. He's someone I want to have. If you're a Freeman owner, you need to have him. And this Freeman could be just a perpetual Leonard Fournette thing. He comes back, gets tweaked. This could be one of those things. Lower body injuries do this a lot.
Max, you also mentioned Taylor Gabriel. Any of the wide receivers or tight ends that you're looking real closely at?
Well, Taylor Gabriel, we mentioned him with the Bears. I thought he was a great ad. As far as wide receivers, I still like Goodwin. I still like Goodwin for the 49ers. He might be available. He's probably not. I haven't checked his numbers yet, which is on me. I had Smith. He was my only guy. That's about it. Or Sanu. But if Sanu's not owned, you're just in a bad league.
Yeah, it's possible. Sanu might be floating out there. He's my number one for this week. If you need wide receiver help, just safe floor for that guy. All right, George, you got your guys all written down. Hit us.
I have 4 names that I wrote down, one at each position. Quarterback, 62% owned, which is kind of high, but check your waiver wires. Andy Dalton. Right now, he is currently the number 12 ranked quarterback. The rest of his schedule, the rest of this year is really a cakewalk. There's not a whole lot of teams on there that scare me. You got your teams getting ready to come up into a bye, and you could do a lot worse fill-ins than Andy Dalton. Nyheim Hines is 15% owned. They're not running the ball in Indy. They're just not. They have no running backs right now to run. Marlon Mack, we don't know if he's going to come back and play. We've seen what we've seen from Jordan Wilkins. He's not very good at football. So I expect more Nyheim Hines usage going forward until they find somebody back there that can actually run the ball. Taylor Gabriel was one that I had written down here.
George, one sec. That's pretty much PPR though, right? If you're not picking up Hines in the standard.
Yeah, Hines in a PPR. Okay. If you're going to do a standard for running back, my last one I got down here, Max touched on him briefly earlier, Mike Davis from Seattle. Right. Coach's staff has already come out and said that he has a role going forward, whether Chris Carson is back or not. Taylor Gabriel was my wide receiver, but Max touched on him earlier. And then we already talked a little bit about Tyler Kroft. I've already said he's my number one target for tight end if I need one going forward. We've seen him produce in previous years with Tyler Eifert out, so I would go ahead and get him. He's familiar with the system, and like I said, their schedule going forward is not very difficult at all.
I'm surprised no one said brought up Brate for tight end waiver yet.
Actually, I was just getting ready to say
and
Cameron
that's
Brate.
called a segue. Jason, take it away.
I was leaving it for the Bucks fan.
Yeah, I was going to say Cameron Brate with Jameis Winston back. He is a hot red zone target for the Tampa Bay Bucks. And like I said earlier, Jameis Winston gets focused on one guy, and Cameron Brate will see 3 or 4 straight passes and drives. The targets will be there. Somebody really deep to add, especially if Randall Cobb is out for any extended period of time, is Marquise Valdez-Scantling. He was in the slot 52% of the time this time, and he was basically the third wide receiver there with Cobb being out.
I feel like I just heard who speaking through you. It's a super deep pick.
Marquise,
it's always hard doing these free agent things at the very end after we've already discussed the surprising studs that we liked during all the games.
Yeah, that was kind of the you guys. I have a list of guys that I would wanted to talk about, and like as we're going through the games, I'm crossing guys off, going nope, can't talk about
That's
him.
what I'm saying. I had Mike Davis, and then I'm like, oh, we spoke about him. Smith it is, and then the Gabriel we've talked about him. Kittle, if he's not owned, get him. I'm not a huge Brate fan, but I'm also not a huge Tampa fan, so that's just on me.
There's not much there to be a fan of.
Jason, you got anybody running back you like this week?
Well, I mean, we talked about Mike Davis. That was going to be it. Honestly, that's and we talked about Rod Smith, just in case Zeke's injury is more than anything.
You know what really surprised me is that they came out with that. Like, they volunteered that information. Zeke is playing through injuries. That's weird, right?
I think they're trying to give excuses for why their offense is looking bad, and it's kind of the wrong excuse because Zeke's still great.
Yeah.
It's your quarterback that's the issue.
Just Jason Garrett, just come out and say Dak Prescott is not what we need. Just say that. We'll believe you then.
Oh,
well, so so I know we don't think Dak's very good, but how many quarterbacks would look great with those wide receivers?
I don't know.
You know who they need?
Jackson there. See what happens.
You know what they need is Josh Gordon.
Listen, they should have tried to trade for Josh Gordon.
No,
that'd be great for them.
Yeah,
but real quick, just on a running back thing, I know we kind of laughed about it earlier, but Mack for the Colts, if he's on the wire, I mean, I'd just grab him and hold him.
I'm trying to trade. He's actually one of my trade targets, which we'll bring up in a second. Because, let's move to that. Segway City. We're going to the trading floor. All right, so we're going to talk real quick about guys we're trading for and guys we're trading away. I've mentioned it a few times. To me, this is the week I'm going after running backs. After 4 weeks, I think managers are either fed up with what they're not getting or there's enough on tape where they can make a decision. So, Marlon Mack, Dalvin Cook, depending on what Hunt does this evening, he might be a target for me. Drake is on my list. These are all guys that I'm looking to trade for, but I'm not overpaying for them. These are guys I think I can convince somebody to sell to me for a wide receiver that's particularly been really good, like a Cooper Kupp, maybe a Ridley. I might sell Ridley if I've got a lot of wide receiver depth, which on many of my teams I do. I went zero running back a lot this year. And
don't give away my sell high, man.
But these other guys I mentioned, I think wouldn't take a lot of salesmanship because the numbers are not good for them. And they're guys that I think that could improve. They're not guys I'm just buying for no reason. They're guys I think have potential to improve and get better throughout the season.
Well, so I was going to say a guy we talked about earlier, Kerryon Johnson. Now, it may take some time, but we all agree he's the best running back in that system. I think at some point the coaching staff pulls their heads out of their you-know-where, and he does get the bulk of the carries. So Kerryon Johnson, week after week, even though he's had a couple of good weeks, you can probably sell somebody on, look, he's gotten some attention. He's showing he's the better running back, and they're still not using him. I think you can probably get him relatively inexpensive. I could sell Cohen this week just because he had a really good game. I mean, yeah, you're probably going to get a couple good games down the road out of him. They just don't use him like you'd expect to. So unless they decide to start using him again, you could sell Cohen high this week and try and take advantage of that really good game against a really bad Bucs team.
All right, so who I'm selling is Cooper Kupp. I mentioned it earlier. There's a lot of talent on that team, and coming off a massive game, I think, there is meat on the bone there. You could get something decent for him. Calvin Ridley, I would probably sell. There's too much talent on that team. When Freeman's back, I do feel like they're going to slow down the pass game and try to slow the game down in general because their defense is not looking good at all. Who I want to buy right now, I'd probably go for Crowell, Collins, or maybe for like the stretch buy would be Freeman. Now, Crowell and Collins are both historically decent running backs. This is more a flex option or a bye week option for you, so you're not going to be paying the house for them. Crowell, in my opinion, if given the touches, which I think he will eventually earn with the Jets once their quarterback gets settled and they're figuring out what they want to do, Crowell will be a solid RB2 play. Collins, I think, is the best running back and statistically is the best running back with the Ravens. Buck will get hurt at some point, and then it'll be the Collins show all day. Freeman being hurt, his health status still being skeptical, and with the emergence of Smith actually doing pretty well, and Tevin Coleman just being Tevin Coleman, you might be able to, sell Calvin Ridley for Freeman. Or if he needs a receiver or two, try to get Taylor Gabriel, Cooper Kupp. Hey, I got an emerging stud in Gabriel, a consistent guy in Kupp. I need Freeman. And they might do that because Freeman definitely was a higher draft pick, but nothing's happened so far this year with him that he's a wasted bench spot.
And I'm going to jump in because I said it earlier. I am a big sell Ridley guy, not because I don't think he has talent or because those teams, because that team can feed him, but the hype around him right now is off the chart, and I think you'll never be able to get more for him than right now, so go get what you can.
Yep, I agree on that one.
I will say this, though. Watching his stats and watching him play, he reminds me of when Julio Jones kind of first came on the scene with Rodney White. It was kind of like, who is this kid? Like, I know he's good, but what's going on? And then he started to overshadow White. I don't think he's going to overshadow Julio. I'm not crazy.
Okay.
That being said,
that's exactly what I was going to ask. I was going to ask, do you sell Julio instead?
I'm hearing people talk like...
If you sold Julio, you get a king's ransom.
Yeah, I'm hearing people talk like Julio is the guy to sell here, or Julio is the guy, that you want to keep Ridley, and that's what's making me say go sell Ridley. Because even though Ridley had the 2 touchdowns, especially in a PPR, for example, Julio still had more points.
Oh yeah, but that's the thing though. You're in a situation right now with these 2 wide receivers that I feel comfortable keeping either. I think Julio has the better upside, but say you spent that first-round pick or that early second-round pick, depending on how the draft went, on Julio Jones. And you have Ridley, and Ridley's killing it. You know what? You have a decent receiving core. You don't necessarily need the 7 extra points Julio's getting you, but your running backs are killing you. Go take Julio and go to the Leonard Fournette owner and say, give me Leonard Fournette and Alex Collins. Alex Collins is underperforming. Leonard Fournette's hurt. He'll do that. It's Julio Jones.
I like
Boom,
that.
you just got yourself Leonard Fournette, a fantastic running back, and Alex Collins, a definite solid upside running back. And there's one more person I actually think you should try to get. He's probably on the wire. If not, the LaShawn McCoy owner owns him. Is Chris Ivory.
Ugh.
With LaShawn McCoy, if the gavel drops and the hammer's coming down, if the public turns to McCoy, the Bills will not start him. They're a franchise who needs their fans because they're not getting W's. And Chris Ivory, especially in that division, when he was on the Jets, he was great. He's I think, more athletic LeGarrette Blount, and that beats up the AFC. The interior D-line is never that good. So Chris Ivory's the kind of running back I wouldn't mind having as a flex bye-week option. And, hey, you have LaShawn McCoy. Here's Pierre Garçon. It's Pierre Garçon. He'll be fine.
I don't know about that. I don't know if I buy Pierre Garçon being fine, and I don't know if I buy
Pierre Garçon. How about Chris Hogan?
Okay, that's a little more realistic.
Chris Hogan, give me Ivory, give me Jordan Matthews. Here's Chris Hogan, and guess what? When Josh Gordon shows up, Chris Hogan's going to be forgot about.
I don't know. I'm staying away from all Bills if I can. Ivory's a real desperation ad for me, or a trade target for me. But
he was just an afterthought, but still, someone
I mean,
consider.
Bye week fill-in, sure, maybe, possibly. Long-term stash, possibly. George, wrap us up here. Who you selling, who you buying?
I talked a little bit about it earlier. Amari Cooper. I want nothing to do with him. I will take. He just had a phenomenal game. I'm going to use that to parlay him into something more valuable than him. I just don't trust Amari Cooper. I don't trust the Raiders. I don't trust John Gruden. I don't trust Derek Carr. He's way too inconsistent for me. So that's my sell. The guy I'm trying to buy, I'm going to go after Keenan Allen.
I was about to say that. I would say, oh my God, I was going to say, would you sell Amari for Keenan?
In a heartbeat. I wouldn't even think twice. Right now, guys that are ahead of Keenan Allen are Jordy Nelson, Corey Davis, John Brown. I mean, he's right behind, or right ahead of D.D. Westbrook, Taylor Gabriel, Sterling Shepard, Tyler Lockett. That's the range Keenan Allen has played to so far this year. If you're the Keenan Allen owner, he hasn't killed you. He had a great first week, but after that, it's not what you were expecting coming from a Keenan Allen.
It's kind of what I was expecting. I didn't see him as high as you guys saw him this year, but I get it. I mean, he's super talented, and in a PPR league, he can certainly have those games. But to me, he was always a guy that would have those games and then disappear for a few games. So, if you want to buy him, it's an interesting investment. I really don't think anyone's going to give you him for Cooper, but maybe Cooper and a high upside guy, maybe John Brown and Cooper, like that kind of thing. Those, take that list that George gave you of all the people that are doing better than Keenan Allen, show them that list, and have them pick two guys that you own that are above Keenan Allen and make that trade. So much stuff to talk about this week. Record-setting recording length. I don't know how Melez is going to edit it out. It could be 2 hours. It could be an hour. I don't know how much of the Josh Gordon conversation I'm going to leave in. We'll see.
You edit none.
No, you leave the Josh Gordon in there, damn it.
All right, we'll see.
You know what? I think the people will leave horrible comments about me in our reviews, but if it's a 5-star review, I'll read it.
Head over to sleeperwire.com right now. Find our weekly rankings there. You can listen to all of our podcasts. You could submit questions through the site. Just click on free advice. It brings up a form. You put your question in there. We answer your email, usually within 24 hours. So you get instant advice. We are the most accessible fantasy podcast. You can find us all over the place. Facebook groups, go to Sleepwire Fantasy Football Club. On Twitter, at Sleeperwire Show. On the Sleeper app, you can find us at SW Steve for me, at BFTGEO for George, at BFTGDRMIL for Jason. And Max, are you still on the Sleeper app?
I am on SleeperBot. I am not on Twitter.
All right, so at MaxSW on the Sleeper app. We're also on the Fantasy Life app Sleeperwire. And George is on there at BFTGPOD. And if we've done anything to help you in these past 4 weeks, you've won a couple of games, had a couple good starts, we ask you to go to our buddy Rob's GoFundMe page. We do all this for free to help him, so please make a donation to help him out. He's fighting chronic Lyme disease. Anytime we give you some good advice or help you out, hey, just go over there, throw a couple bucks in the GoFundMe. It's GoFundMe.com/RobJR. GoFundMe.com/RobJR. We'll be back live on Wednesday night about 8 p.m. Eastern for the mail sack. So get ready to call in with your questions and submit your questions on the Sleeper app and Fantasy Life app. We will answer them all coming up Wednesday night. Jason, George, it's always nice to have you guys on Monday. Max, it was a real pleasure to have you back on. I always enjoy talking to football with you. Thanks again for listening, everybody. Catch you next time.
Can I derail this for 1 second?
Please do. Please do.
That hasn't happened tonight.
Right. Just put your conspiracy caps on for me real quick. Does anyone else just feel like the NFL is kind of rigging the game now? Not like literally rigging, but I mean making the rules so we're seeing these insane scores all the time. Because this reminds me of when the MLB corked the baseballs so there'd be more home runs to make baseball more exciting. I feel like the NFL is doing that because they think defensive-minded games are boring for the nonchalant fan, which they're not really wrong about usually. But these numbers we're seeing, like 42 to 45, that's insane. The scores that are happening are just crazy, and you're seeing receivers that we probably wouldn't even be talking about becoming actually relevant. And like Cooper Kupp, he's good. I wouldn't really want to have him, but he just had an unbelievable game. And I feel like I'm seeing this more and more now, to the point where I'm starting to think like the NFL's not playing fair.
I'll humor the idea, but you got to give me some, point to some evidence. Give me an example of what you're talking about and how they're rigging a game.
Clay Matthews. That's my evidence. You can't touch the quarterback.
All right.
Well, so I think
the pass interference calls, although they're not wild this year, have been in the last few years. The offense, the scales of the rules are weighed so heavily in favor for the offense.
So I think you're talking less about the NFL. It's not the NFL's rigging games, but they're skewing heavily towards the offense even more than in years past.
Exactly. It's rigging in the fact that unless you have a bad offense, just straight up bad offense, or an unbelievable defense, you're going to see these crazy scoring games.
As John Gruden said, good pass rushers are hard to find. They just don't come around very often in the NFL.
Well, it's like if you look at Mack alone as a pass rusher can ruin an entire offense. And it's like, all right, well, he alone can hold a team by himself because he's so good. But when you have, like I said, the Browns versus the Raiders, that's not a normal scoring game. For two teams with okay-looking defenses, decent offenses, but at the same time, if you're looking from the defensive side of the ball, the game is rigged against you. You can't hit a receiver too early. You can barely fight for the ball anymore because it's going to go in the receiver's favor. You can't tackle the quarterback too rough. You can't tackle anyone too rough, or you're using your body to drive them in the ground. Isn't that called a tackle?
Yeah, I think a lot of the defenses are playing on pins and needles because they're afraid to make contact with anybody. And so they're giving them that little cushion, and typically you wouldn't get that cushion.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think what ends up inevitably what'll end up happening is defenses will scheme. The offense will. These offenses have come out with all kinds of new trick plays and all kinds of plays that take advantage of the fact that the quarterback's a flag football statue back there, and that you can have free reign running over the middle with wide receivers. But what ends up happening is some defensive-minded coach comes up with a scheme or a way to shut it down. So in a couple years, you'll see defense coming back, and then the NFL will change the rules again, so there's more offense. But I mean, it's a trend that's happened for a while now, and it's just with the quarterbacks being able to just stand back there and not worry about getting hit. But even with a guy like Mack, so what you have to see is less guys like Clay Matthews who come right up the middle and pile drive the quarterback into the ground, and more guys like Mack who look to come around the edge and take the ball away from people. And you'll just see a lot more emphasis on going for the quarterback's arm.
And you might see more athletic linebackers being drafted that can drop back into coverage more than just work on the straight pass rush too. So yeah, I could see what you're saying, Max.
I think the days of the Brian Urlacher, the guy who can't catch but can read a play and make a tackle great, are coming to an end. Because if you look at even the Super Bowls, for the most part, they're short of the Patriots-Eagles, they're defensive battles. It's who has the better defense.
Right.
And it's not even who has the better defense. It's the number one defense this season will win the Super Bowl. And now the NFL is kind of making it so it's it's no longer the number one defense. It's the number one offense because the defense isn't allowed to tackle.
Well, let's face it too. Now we're seeing defensive players making as much money as some of their offensive counterparts, and that's going to entice better athletes to play defense, right? So for a lot of years, all the athletes that made a lot of money were on offense, and the defense made a little bit less. So as that budget changes, the prime athletes will also change to the defensive side of the ball. Who wouldn't rather hit than be hit if you make the same amount?
Very true.
This is so refreshing. A dignified conversation about the inner workings of football. Everyone's got their voice toned to an inside level. We're taking turns. Whereas 10 minutes ago, we were all screaming and yelling over each other about Josh fucking Gordon.
Don't bring that up. I will start screaming and yelling.